next generation can grow and thrive and create real impacts into their own communities. One of the issues that persists here is, like many of the parts of New York State, our city suffers from a lack of affordable housing. It's still a constant and chronic challenge. The affordability crisis across our state is really difficult. And so I asked to be on the Senate Appropriations Committee. I asked to be on the committee that was in charge of affordable housing. And so we are putting more money into affordable housing than ever before in this most recent budget. I hope this budget will pass, but it will make a difference. A recent analysis from the Comptroller's Office found that 1 in every 5 New York households spends more than half of their income to cover the cost of housing. Here in Albany, nearly half of our housing stock was built before 1950, driving up the costs and too often leaving residents with inadequate conditions. Asbestos abatement is one of the legacies. So having to be able to take out the asbestos, take out the lead paint, take out the construction materials that no longer serve us and are no longer healthy for people. Lincoln Square Towers for many years was an essential resource for people seeking affordable housing, but as these buildings have deteriorated, the city has been exploring ways to reimagine the site and to bring the South End a new state-of-the-art development that it deserves. Today marks a major step towards our efforts to create that safe, modern space that will better serve our residents and the broader community. And I'm proud to have secured the federal funding that makes today's event possible. As the top Democrat in the Senate Appropriations Committee for Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, I will keep fighting to bring home federal dollars that strengthen our communities and revitalize our city centers and create spaces where businesses and families can thrive. In addition to securing $3 million for the Lincoln Square redevelopment, I was also proud to deliver another $16 million in federal funding for projects all across the Capital Region last year. Local leaders like Mayor Sheehan and Treasurer Shanfar are essential partners in making sure that the federal funding gets to the projects that are needed most in that community. I'm very proud that by working with our local officials, we've delivered funding that will help revitalize our water systems, invest in daycares and community centers, strengthen our local infrastructure in and around Albany. And as we continue this year's appropriations process, I'm working to secure more than $400 million overall to support affordable housing projects across the country. The people of Albany deserve the people of Albany deserve a city as dynamic as the people who live here. And I will keep working with Mayor Sheehan and her successor and Governor Hochul to develop the federal funding that replaces aging infrastructure and revitalizes our community. I would now like to bring up Darius for his remarks.
All right. Thank you. You look out here and you see Lincoln Towers, and that provided affordable housing to people for decades. But that wasn't built without federal help, without federal dollars. Our federal dollars that we send to Washington, and we need to get back here. And they will not be torn down and without that federal help. We are a donor state. We give more money away to other states in our federal tax dollars, and we expect to see that money coming back here to do things like this. If you want affordable housing, we need to do projects like this. And that's what we really need to drive home. That's really what we need to drive home to this administration. So thank you for your work. Thank you. It's been a pleasure serving with you for 12 years almost. It's been a tremendous help to have Senator Gillibrand be such a friend of Albany. She's one of our favorite constituents too.
Exactly. And well served. Sometimes the paper does not get delivered. We can take some questions on topic first, and then we can do some off topics if people have any. Any questions?
What's the timetable for
You wanted to answer that?
Absolutely. Well, I would first say it would depend on our ability to raise the money to fully demolish the buildings. So sooner the better.
And what's the budget for full demolition?
Right now, it's being estimated at about $12 million.
Is the Housing Authority planning to apply for any of the $200 million the governor has put forward for the city to go towards that demolition?
Absolutely.
Any other on topics or off topics?
What's actually going to happen? Can you just kind of bring me up to speed?
With the towers, well, currently, as we stated, we're currently in actually starting today, removing asbestos within the building. And as we continue to raise the money, we will demolish those towers. And then during the simultaneously, we are what's the word I'm looking for? Reimagining the property. So right now, as Mayor Sheehan stated, there are several developers that are interested. So at this point, we're just trying to figure out what's the best option that benefits the community. Affordable housing, mixed use, commercial space, home ownership.
In your reimagining, do you envision that this land will be sold to the developer, or that the housing authority would remain the owner, the developer would go on and do some sort of leasing?
Either are possible.
What have you heard from community members who are excited about this? Do you want to share any of the emotion that you've heard from residents, people in the area? What to look forward to?
What I would say is, I think the more that we communicate that home ownership is an option, that's excitement. Commercial space and use, mixed use, as well as more affordable housing. I believe all those areas are exciting to the residents and the community. I can't speak on one specific individual, but I can tell you that it is probably the consensus of the community and citywide.
And I also have heard that people are very excited to get a more modern facility, something more up-to-date, something that has more energy behind it. These buildings seem very old to a lot of people because they were built in the 50s. And so something new, and being able to have the investment in this community as opposed to some other part of the city. So there's just a lot of energy around the possibility of what could be created here. Now, it is a large amount of money, so with the governor's budget, with this federal money, with some city money, maybe they'll have enough to get started sooner than later, just as Chiquita said. But people are excited. They want to see, when we've had reuse and redevelopment of other housing authorities around the state, the outcomes have been phenomenal. And so this community is really excited to be part of that.
Can I just add?
Yep.
Because, this process has taken so long. This is a project I inherited from my predecessor, and I've been mayor for almost 12 years. And so the original plan was to replace every one of these units with scattered site housing that the housing authority would provide to the individuals who were in these buildings. And so all of this housing has already been replaced throughout the city. And then the next phase was to take these towers down. And as we all know, with some of the challenges that we had with the demand for housing and some renovations that were happening in other housing authority buildings, these towers actually stayed open longer than anticipated. But this has been decades in the planning. And that's why you see the investment that happened just to the west of this property, 2 new basketball courts, a new playground, and the investment that's been made in Lincoln Park with the new fields and the Lincoln Park pool. All of that was done with the anticipation that this site would become more included in the city, not be these towers that are kind of hidden away from and not feeling as though you're part of a broader community. And so one of the things, I can't speak for my successor, but one of the things that we've insisted on as we've talked to developers is we want to ensure that we have eyes on the street, feet on the street, and a feel in this site that feels like a community, that feels like a neighborhood. So we're hopeful that that will happen, and it starts with the unsexy stuff, which is why kudos again to Senator Gillibrand for saying, yes, I will secure the money to get the asbestos out. Couldn't have happened, wouldn't be here if it weren't for that.
Very good, step one.
Yeah.
From the press. Any other questions from the press? We can do off topic, yeah.
I'm curious for your thoughts on John Sarko. He was an interim U.S. attorney. He was never put before the Senate. Now his interim post is up and he's acting. What do you make of that?
I would need more information to give you a fuller comment.
Do you wish that, prosecutors around the country are generally circumventing the confirmation process. So I'm wondering.
I can speak to the broader issue. I think it's highly problematic. The U.S. Constitution was written where the Senate would have advice. Our job is advice and consent for the president for positions like U.S. attorneys, for judges. And when President Trump tries to subvert that process, it undermines the Constitution and it undermines the constitutional rights of every citizen who has voted for their local electeds to be part of that process. No, I don't think so.
Speaking about President Trump, he's talked about sending the National Guard into New York City, similar to what we've seen in Washington, D.C. Do you feel like he should be allowed to send the National Guard into cities like New York City?
No, I think it's unconstitutional and uncalled for, and I don't think the National Guard appreciate it either. Our service members who sign up for the National Guard, who sign up for reserve duty, who serve our country at times of need, they are expected to be called on at moments of national disaster, national security. President Trump is using our armed services members as political pawns in his rhetoric and in his political arguments. New York City does not need the National Guard. Los Angeles does not need the National Guard. Baltimore does not need the National Guard. And in fact, the governor of Maryland invited President Trump to come to see the security of his city, and President Trump was offended by that request. So obviously this is President Trump playing politics, trying to score political points, and he's abusing our National Guard members in the process. Any other off topics by the press? Go ahead.
This would be for Mayor Sheehan.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Speaking of revitalization, we have Lark Out Loud happening very soon. Do you have any comments about that and just what's going on in the city in terms of revitalization?
I was really excited to hear that business owners and community members were coming together to plan that event. I have always said that what makes this city vibrant and what helps to invigorate our neighborhoods are those grassroots types gatherings and events that happen. We have them throughout the city, but they don't all require, they require the city to help, but they don't require us to actually organize. And so whether it's Pearl Palooza or Out Loud on Lark, is that what they're saying? Out Loud on Lark, you know, the Latin Festival, Pride Festival, these are all community-driven, vibrant events that happen in the city of Albany. So I'm really excited to see that happening on Lark Street.
Anything else? We'll do you after. Anybody else? Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.